The mop made a soft sound against the metal floor, back and forth, back and forth. Kang Tio moved slowly through the empty corridor of the medical wing. The lights above him were dim. Most people on Station Orbis 7 were sleeping at this hour, but not him. He worked the night shift, and he had done so for 3 years now. He stopped for a moment and looked at the small girl sitting on a bench near the wall. His daughter, Yoon Hana, was drawing in her little notebook. She was only 6 years old, with messy black hair and big, curious eyes. Tonight, he could not find anyone to watch her, so she came with him to work. She never complained. She liked the quiet of the station at night. "Papa," Hana said without looking up from her drawing, "when will we go home?" "Soon," Tio said, "2 more hours." She nodded and went back to her crayons. Tio smiled a little and continued mopping. The Galactic Integration Center was a big place. Aliens from many different species came here. Some came for medical help. Some came to learn about other cultures. Humans like Tio were not common on the station. Most workers here were from other planets, but Tio did not mind. He was good at his job and nobody bothered him. He pushed his mop cart down the corridor and turned the corner. That is when he saw them. A tall alien woman sat in the waiting area outside one of the medical offices. Her skin was a soft purple color, and her eyes were large and dark. She had no hair, but instead, thin ridges ran across her head like gentle waves. She was a Thessian. Tio had seen her kind before. They were known for being intelligent and proud. But tonight the woman did not look proud. She looked tired. Her shoulders were low and her hands rested on her lap without movement. Beside her sat a small child, a girl who looked about 5 years old. The little Thessian girl had the same purple skin, the same ridges on her head. But unlike her mother, she did not move at all. She sat perfectly still, staring straight ahead at nothing. Tio slowed his mopping. He had seen them here before, always waiting, always quiet. The station workers whispered about them. The mother was named Vela. She used to be a famous scientist on her home world, but she gave up everything to come here, searching for help for her daughter. The daughter's name was Lyra. She was blind. At least that is what everyone said. The Thessian doctors could not understand it. Lyra's body was healthy. Her sensory organs worked perfectly, but she could not see the world the way other Thessians did. She lived in darkness, they said, a darkness no one could explain. Tio felt sadness in his chest as he watched them. He knew what it was like to feel helpless. When his wife died 3 years ago, he thought the world had ended. He had to learn how to be a father alone. He had to learn how to keep going when everything felt broken. He dipped his mop into the bucket and continued cleaning. He did not want to stare. It was not polite. But then something happened. Hana got up from her bench and walked toward the Thessian girl. Before Tio could stop her, Hana stood in front of Lyra and waved her small hand. "Hello," Hana said brightly. "My name is Hana. What is your name?" Lyra did not respond. She did not move. Her large dark eyes stayed fixed on the empty space in front of her. Vela looked up. Her expression was tired but not unkind. "I am sorry," she said in careful, accented words. "My daughter cannot see you. She cannot see anything." Hana tilted her head. "She cannot see, but her eyes are open." "Her eyes do not work the way yours do," Vela explained. "She is blind." Tio walked over quickly. He put a gentle hand on Hana's shoulder. "Hana, do not bother them. Come back to your seat." "It is no bother," Vela said. She looked at Tio with tired eyes. "Your daughter is kind. Most children on this station are afraid of us." Tio nodded politely. "I am sorry for your trouble. I hope the doctors can help." Vela did not answer. She just looked down at Lyra with a sadness that seemed endless. Tio understood that look. It was the look of a parent who did not know how to save their child. He took Hana back to her bench and returned to his work. But his mind was not on the mopping anymore. He kept thinking about the little girl who sat so still, so silent. An hour passed. T.O. finished cleaning the main corridor and moved to a smaller hallway near the maintenance room. This area was old. The lights here flickered sometimes because the wiring was bad. The station managers kept saying they would fix it, but they never did. T.O. was mopping near an old maintenance panel when the light above it started to flicker. It blinked on and off, making a soft buzzing sound. He sighed and made a note to report it again, but then he stopped. Lyra was standing at the end of the hallway. She must have wandered away from her mother. Her small body was very still, but her head was turned. She was looking at something. No, not looking, staring. She was staring at the flickering light. T.O. felt his heart beat faster. He watched her carefully. Her dark eyes were not empty anymore. They were focused. They followed the light as it blinked, tracking the movement with perfect attention. But that was impossible. Thessians did not see light. Their species saw the world through heat and magnetic fields. To them, visible light did not exist. It was like a color that human eyes could not see. It simply was not there for them. So why was this blind Thessian girl staring at a flickering lamp? T.O. did not move. He barely breathed. He watched Lyra as she stood in the dim hallway, her head tilted slightly, her eyes locked on the only source of visible light in the corridor. Then Vela's voice came from behind. "Lyra, there you are." The Thessian mother hurried forward and took her daughter's hand. "Do not wander off. You scared me." Lyra did not respond. Her eyes dropped back to the floor, empty again. Vela led her away without looking back. T.O. stood alone in the hallway. The light above him flickered once more and then went steady. He stared at the spot where Lyra had been standing. His mind was racing. Something was wrong. No, not wrong. Something was different. That girl was not looking at nothing. She was looking at the light. He did not understand how. He did not understand why. But deep in his gut, T.O. knew something important had just happened. Lyra was not blind, not the way everyone thought. She was seeing something, something her own species could not see. And somehow, a human janitor with a mop was the only one who noticed. T.O. picked up his bucket and walked slowly back to where Hana was waiting. His daughter looked up at him with sleepy eyes. "Papa, can we go home now?" "Yes," he said quietly, "we can go home." But as he took Hana's hand and walked toward the exit, he could not stop thinking about the little purple girl in the hallway. He could not stop thinking about the way she had looked at that light. Tomorrow he would watch her again. Tomorrow he would find out the truth. Because if he was right, then Lyra was not broken at all. She was just different, and different was not the same as wrong. 3 days passed, but T.O. could not forget what he had seen. Every night when he cleaned the medical wing, he looked for Lyra, and every night he watched her carefully. The little Thessian girl always sat beside her mother in the waiting area. She never moved. She never spoke. She just stared at the empty space in front of her, like a statue made of purple stone. But T.O. saw things that others did not notice. When a screen on the wall changed colors, Lyra's head turned slightly toward it. When someone walked past with a glowing device, her eyes followed for just a moment. When the overhead lights flickered, her body became tense, alert. She was reacting to light. He was sure of it now. But how could he prove it? He was just a janitor. He was not a scientist or a doctor. Nobody would listen to him, especially not about an alien child from a species he barely understood. Vela was growing suspicious of him. He could feel her watching him when he cleaned near them. She probably thought he was strange, this quiet human man who always seemed to be nearby. T.O. tried to keep his distance, but it was hard. He needed to understand what was happening to Lyra. On the 4th night, everything changed. T.O. brought Hana to work again. She sat on her usual bench with her notebook and crayons. She was drawing a picture of a flower using every color she had. Red petals, yellow center, green stem, blue sky behind it. T.O. smiled at her work. "That is very beautiful, Hana." "It is for you, Papa," she said, "for your birthday." His birthday was not for another 2 months, but he did not correct her. He just kissed the top of her head and went back to mopping. A few minutes later, Hana got up to use the bathroom. T.O. pointed her in the right direction and watched her go. She was a careful girl. She would be fine. But when Hana came back, she was walking too fast. She was not looking where she was going. Her foot caught on the edge of T.O.'s mop bucket, and she stumbled forward. The box of crayons flew out of her hands. They scattered across the floor in every direction. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, pink, brown, black, white. They rolled and bounced and spread out like a tiny rainbow explosion. "Oh no," Hana cried. She dropped to her knees and started picking them up. T.O. hurried over to help, but then he stopped. Lyra was standing. The little Thessian girl had gotten up from her seat. Her mother was not beside her. Vela had stepped away to speak with a doctor inside one of the offices. Lyra was alone, and she was staring at the floor. No, not the floor, the crayons. Her dark eyes moved slowly over the scattered colors. Her body was completely still, but her face was different. There was something in her expression that T.O. had never seen before. Interest, focus, wonder. She took one step forward, then another. Hana looked up at her with wide eyes but did not move away. Lyra walked closer until she was standing right in front of the scattered crayons. Then she bent down and picked up the red one. She held it in her small purple fingers and stared at it. Her whole body was trembling slightly. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. T.O. felt his heart pounding in his chest. He walked forward slowly and knelt down beside her. "Do you like that one?" he asked gently. Lyra did not answer. She just kept staring at the crayon. Hana crawled closer. "That one is red," she said helpfully. "It is my favorite. Well, second favorite. Pink is my favorite, but red is good too." Lyra's head snapped toward Hana. Her eyes were wide, almost desperate. And then she spoke. "Red." The word was so quiet that T.O. almost missed it. Her voice was rough and unused, like she had not spoken in a very long time. But the word was clear. "Red," Lyra said again. She looked down at the crayon. "This is red." T.O.'s hands were shaking. He reached out and picked up another crayon, the blue one. "What about this one?" he asked. "What color is this?" Lyra looked at it. Her eyes moved over the surface, drinking in every detail. "Blue," she whispered. Hana gasped. She knows the colors, Papa, she can see them. At that moment, Vela came out of the doctor's office. She saw her daughter kneeling on the floor with two humans and rushed forward. "Lyra, what are you doing? Come away from there." She grabbed Lyra's arm and pulled her back. The red crayon fell from Lyra's hand and rolled across the floor. Vela looked at T.O. with anger and fear. "What did you do to her? Why was she talking?" T.O. stood up slowly. He raised his hands to show he meant no harm. "I did not hurt her," he said calmly. "Please listen to me. Your daughter is not blind." Vela's face twisted with pain. "Do not say that. Do not give me false hope. I have heard it 100 times from 100 doctors. She is blind. She cannot see our world." "That is true," T.O. said. "She cannot see your world, but she can see mine." Vela stared at him. She did not understand. T.O. picked up the red crayon and held it up. "What is this to you?" Vela looked at it with confusion. "It is a small object, room temperature, no magnetic signature. It is nothing special." "To you it is nothing," T.O. said. "But to humans this object is bright red. It reflects a certain kind of light that our eyes can see. Your species cannot see this light. It does not exist for you." Vela shook her head. "I know this. Humans see in the visible light spectrum. We have learned about it, but my daughter is Thessian. She should see heat and magnetic fields, not light." "But she does not see heat and magnetic fields," T.O. said. "That is why your doctors think she is blind. But what if she sees something else? What if she sees what I see? Vela was silent. Her grip on Lyra's arm loosened slightly. T.O. knelt down in front of Lyra again. He held up the red crayon. Lyra, he said gently, can you tell your mother what color this is? Lyra looked at the crayon, then she looked at her mother. Red, she said. Vela's whole body went still. She did not understand the word. It meant nothing in her language, but she saw her daughter speak. She saw her daughter respond to something. She saw her daughter engage with the world in a way she never had before. What does that word mean? Vela asked. Her voice was barely a whisper. It is the name of a color, T.O. said. A color that only certain species can see. Humans can see it, and I think your daughter can too. Vela sank to her knees. Her eyes were wet with tears that looked silver against her purple skin. How is this possible? She asked. She is Thessian, she should not be able to see light. I do not know how it is possible, T.O. admitted. But I know what I saw. She was watching a flickering light 3 days ago. She reacted to the colors on screens. And just now, she identified this crayon by its color. She has never heard these words before, but she knew them, because she could see what I see. Vela looked at her daughter. Lyra was still holding the blue crayon in her hand, staring at it like it was the most precious thing in the universe. Lyra, Vela said softly, can you really see? Lyra looked up at her mother. For the first time in years there was light in her eyes, not the light of heat or magnetism, the light of hope. I see colors, Mother, Lyra whispered. I have always seen colors, but no one else could see them. I thought I was broken. Vela pulled her daughter into her arms and held her tight. She was crying now, her whole body shaking with sobs. T.O. stepped back to give them space. Hana walked over and took his hand. Papa, she said quietly, did we help? T.O. looked down at his daughter and smiled. Yes, Hana, I think we did. But deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. There were many questions still to answer. How was Lyra born this way? Was she the only one? Could anything be done to help her live in a world that was not built for her eyes? He did not have the answers, but he knew one thing for certain. Lyra was not blind. She had never been blind. She had simply been seeing a world that no one else could see. And now, finally, someone believed her. The days after the discovery were difficult for Vela. She had spent 5 years believing her daughter was blind. She had visited dozens of doctors. She had spent all her money. She had given up her career and her home, all because she thought Lyra was broken. But Lyra was never broken. She was just different. Vela did not know how to feel. Part of her was happy. Her daughter could see. Her daughter was not living in darkness. But another part of her was angry. Angry at herself for not understanding sooner. Angry at the doctors who never considered this possibility. Angry at a universe that had made her daughter so different from everyone else. She contacted the Thessian Medical Authority and told them what the human janitor had discovered. She expected them to be excited. She expected them to send scientists immediately. Instead, they laughed at her. Visible light perception in a Thessian, the doctor on the screen said. That is impossible. Our species does not have the biology for it. Your daughter is simply responding to stimuli in ways you do not understand. This human has filled your head with false hope. Vela tried to argue. She told them about the crayons. She told them about the colors. She told them that Lyra had spoken words she had never heard before and identified things by their visual appearance. But the doctors did not believe her. To them, visible light was a myth. It was something that other species talked about, but it had no meaning for Thessians. It was like trying to explain music to someone who had never heard sound. Vela ended the call feeling more alone than ever. That night, T.O. found her sitting in the waiting area with her head in her hands. Lyra was beside her, playing quietly with the box of crayons that Hana had given her. She was sorting them by color, arranging them in a perfect rainbow line. T.O. sat down beside Vela. He did not speak at first. He just sat there, letting her know she was not alone. "They do not believe me," Vela said finally. Her voice was hollow. "My own people think I am crazy." "I believe you," Tio said. "And Hana believes you. That is a start." Vela looked at him. Her silver tears had dried on her purple cheeks. "Why do you care? You are just a janitor. You have no reason to help us." Tio was quiet for a moment. Then he said, 3 years ago my wife died. She was sick for a long time before that. I watched her get weaker every day. I could not help her. I could not save her. All I could do was hold her hand and tell her I loved her." Vela listened without speaking. "After she died, I did not know how to keep living," Tio continued. "But I had Hana. She needed me. So I got up every morning and took care of her. I found this job because it let me work at night when she was sleeping. I built a life, one small piece at a time." He looked at Lyra, who was holding up a yellow crayon and studying it with wonder. "I know what it feels like to be helpless," he said. "I know what it feels like when no one can help you. But I also know that sometimes help comes from unexpected places. A stranger, a janitor, a little girl with crayons." Vela wiped her eyes. "What can we do? The doctors will not listen. My people will not accept what she is." Tio thought for a moment. Then an idea came to him. "Come with me," he said. "I want to show Lyra something." He led them through the station to a part of the medical wing that was rarely used. It was an old storage area that had been converted into a maintenance hub. Tio had the access codes because he sometimes had to fix things here. The room was dark when they entered. Vela and Lyra stood near the door while Tio walked to a control panel on the wall. "Human eyes need light to see," he explained. "But not all light is the same. There are different kinds, different colors. Most Theshan buildings use lighting that produces heat signatures your species can detect, but the light does not have much color. It is dim to human eyes." He pressed some buttons on the panel. "But this room has older equipment that was designed for humans. Watch." He flipped a switch. The room flooded with light. Not the dull gray light of Theshan buildings, not the soft glow of standard station lighting. This was full-spectrum visible light, bright, warm, colorful. Lyra gasped. She stood frozen in the doorway, her eyes wide, her mouth open. The room was filled with things, old machines, storage boxes, cables and tools. To Vela, it was just a cluttered space. But to Lyra, it was a wonderland. She could see everything. The silver shine of metal, the red and green wires, the yellow warning labels, the blue glow of a sleeping computer screen. Colors everywhere, bright and beautiful and real. Lyra walked forward slowly, like she was entering a dream. She reached out and touched a red toolbox. She ran her fingers over a green cable. She stared at a poster on the wall that showed a diagram of the station, all blues and whites and yellows. Then she started to cry. Vela rushed forward. "Lyra, what is wrong? Are you hurt?" Lyra shook her head. Tears were running down her face, but she was smiling. It was the first real smile Vela had ever seen on her daughter's face. "It is beautiful, Mother," Lyra whispered. "Everything is so beautiful, I can see it all. I can finally see." Vela did not understand. She could not see what Lyra saw. The room looked the same to her as any other room, but she could see her daughter's joy. She could see the wonder in her eyes. She could feel the happiness radiating from her small body. And that was enough. Vela knelt down and held her daughter. She held her tighter than she had ever held anyone before. "I am sorry," Vela whispered. "I am so sorry, Lyra. All these years I thought you were suffering. I thought you were trapped in darkness. But you were seeing a world I could not imagine. You were seeing beauty I could not understand." Lyra hugged her mother back. "It is okay, Mother. You did not know. Nobody knew." Tio stood by the door watching them. His own eyes were wet. He thought about his wife. He thought about all the times he had felt helpless. and he thought about how sometimes the smallest actions could change everything. A mop, a box of crayons, a room full of light. That was all it took to change a little girl's life. Later, when they left the room, Vela turned to Tio. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was thick with emotion. "I do not have words to express what you have done for us." "You do not need words," Tio said. "Just take care of her. Help her see the world she was meant to see." Vela nodded. Then she said something that surprised him. "The doctors say Lyra is a mutation. 1 in a trillion. A Thetan born with photoreceptors that detect visible light instead of heat and magnetism. They say it should be impossible, but impossible things happen sometimes." She looked at Lyra, who was still holding a yellow crayon from Hana's set. "My daughter is not broken," Vela said. "She is a miracle, and it took a human with a mop to show me that." Tio smiled. "Miracles are everywhere, we just have to know how to look for them." Vela smiled back. It was the first time he had seen her smile. As they walked back through the station, Lyra reached up and took Hana's hand. The two girls walked together, one purple and one brown, one seeing heat and one seeing light. But in that moment they were just two children, two friends, two miracles walking side by side. And somewhere above them, the stars were shining, stars that Lyra could finally see. Word spread faster than anyone expected. Within weeks, scientists from across the Galactic Coalition arrived at Station Orbis 7. They came from dozens of planets. They spoke hundreds of languages. They wanted to see the impossible girl who could see light. Lyra became famous overnight. The scientists ran tests. They scanned her brain. They examined her eyes. They measured her responses to different wavelengths of light, and every test confirmed what Tio had discovered that night in the hallway. Lyra was a mutation, a 1 in a trillion chance. Her Thetan body had somehow developed photoreceptors similar to human eyes. She could not see heat or magnetic fields like other Thetians. Instead, she saw visible light. She saw colors. She was the first of her kind. The news spread across the galaxy. News channels talked about her. Scientists wrote papers about her. Politicians debated what her existence meant for the coalition. Vela was overwhelmed. She had wanted help for her daughter, but she never wanted this. She never wanted Lyra to become a spectacle. The scientists were respectful at first. They asked permission before running tests. They explained everything they were doing. But as the weeks passed, more and more of them arrived. They wanted more tests, more observations, more data. Lyra was just a child. She was 5 years old. She did not understand why so many people wanted to poke and scan and study her. She just wanted to play with Hana and draw pictures with her crayons. One day, Vela found Lyra hiding in a closet in their small living quarters. She was curled up in the corner, hugging her knees to her chest. "Lyra, what is wrong?" Vela asked. "I do not want to do more tests," Lyra said. Her voice was small and scared. "I just want to be normal." Vela's heart broke. She sat down beside her daughter and held her close. "You are not normal," Vela said gently. "You are special. You are unique. But that does not mean you have to do things that make you unhappy." "But the scientists say I am important," Lyra said. "They say I can help people." "You are important," Vela agreed. "But you are also a little girl. You deserve to play and laugh and be happy. You are not just a subject for study." That night, Vela went to see the head of the research team. She told him that Lyra needed a break. She told him that her daughter was tired and scared and overwhelmed. The scientist frowned. "We understand your concerns," he said, "but this research is critical. Your daughter represents a breakthrough in cross-species biology. We cannot stop now." "I am not asking you to stop forever," Vela said. "I am asking you to slow down. She is just a child." The scientist shook his head. "The coalition has invested significant resources in this project. We have timelines to meet. I am sorry, but we cannot accommodate your request. Vela left the meeting feeling angry and helpless. She did not know what to do. The next day, T.O. heard about what happened. He found Vela in the cafeteria, staring at a cup of tea she had not touched. I heard about the meeting, he said, sitting down across from her. They will not listen to me, Vela said. To them, Lyra is just data. She is not a person. She is a specimen. T.O. was quiet for a moment. Then he said, have you tried talking to the ethics committee? Vela looked up. The ethics committee. Every research project in the coalition has to follow ethical guidelines, T.O. explained. There is a committee that oversees how research subjects are treated. If you file a complaint, they have to investigate. Vela had not known about this. On her home world, scientists had more freedom. There were no ethics committees watching over them. Will they listen to me? She asked. I do not know, T.O. admitted, but it is worth trying. The next week, there was a hearing. Vela stood before the ethics committee and explained her concerns. She told them about the endless tests. She told them about Lyra hiding in the closet. She told them that her daughter was being treated like an object instead of a person. The scientists argued back. They said the research was too important to stop. They said they were being careful and respectful. They said Vela was overreacting. Then something unexpected happened. T.O. stood up. He was not supposed to speak. He was just a janitor. He had no scientific credentials. He had no official role in the proceedings. But he stood up anyway. May I say something? He asked. The committee chairman looked surprised. This is an official hearing. Only authorized personnel may speak. I understand, T.O. said, but I am the one who discovered Lyra's condition. I have been watching this situation from the beginning. Please let me speak. The chairman hesitated, then he nodded. Very well, you have 2 minutes. T.O. took a deep breath. His hands were shaking slightly. He was not used to speaking in front of important people. He was used to mops and buckets and empty hallways. But he thought about Lyra. He thought about her small face and her big eyes. He thought about the way she had looked at that red crayon, like it was the most beautiful thing in the universe. And then he spoke. Lyra is not a scientific breakthrough, he said. She is a little girl. She is 5 years old. She likes to draw pictures. She likes to play with my daughter. She likes to sort crayons by color because it is the only thing in her life that makes sense to her. He looked at the scientists in the room. You say she is important because she can see light. You say she can help bridge the gap between species. And maybe that is true, but she cannot do any of that if you break her first. His voice grew stronger. I lost my wife 3 years ago. I know what it is like to feel helpless. I know what it is like when the people who are supposed to help you only make things worse. Lyra deserves better than that. She deserves to be treated like a child, not like an experiment. He turned to the committee. Please, give her time, give her space. Let her be a kid first and a research subject second, because if you push too hard, you will not just lose your data, you will lose her. The room was silent. Nobody moved, nobody spoke. Then the chairman cleared his throat. Thank you for your statement, he said. The committee will take your concerns into consideration. 2 days later, the decision came. The ethics committee ruled in favor of Vela. Lyra was granted protected status. The research would continue, but at a slower pace. No more than 3 tests per week. No tests on weekends. Mandatory play time and rest periods. Lyra was safe. Vela cried when she heard the news. She found T.O. in his usual hallway, mopping the floor near the maintenance room. Thank you, she said. You did not have to speak for us. You could have stayed quiet. T.O. shrugged. Someone had to say something. You are a good man, Kang T.O., Vela said. A very good man. That night, Hana and Lyra sat together in the waiting area, drawing pictures. Hana was drawing a flower. Lyra was drawing something more complicated. What is that? Hana asked, looking at Lyra's paper. Lyra held it up. It was a picture of a sunset, orange and pink and purple and gold, spreading across the page like fire. I saw this on a screen once, Lyra said. It is what happens when the sun goes down on some planets. I want to see a real one someday. Hana smiled. My papa says sunsets are very pretty. Maybe you will see one for real. Lyra nodded. She looked down at her drawing with quiet hope. Maybe I will, she said. Maybe I will. And somewhere across the station, scientists were already working on a new project. A way to translate visible light into signals that Thessians could understand. A way to let Vela see what her daughter saw. A bridge between two worlds. And it had all started with a janitor, a box of crayons, and a little girl who refused to live in darkness. 8 months passed, the station changed, the people changed, and most of all, Lyra changed. She was no longer the silent, empty-eyed girl who sat motionless in the waiting area. She laughed now. She talked. She ran through the corridors with Hana, their footsteps echoing off the metal walls. She drew pictures every day, filling page after page with colors that no Thessian had ever seen before. The scientists had not been idle during those months. Working with human researchers and engineers from across the coalition, they had built something new, something that had never existed before. They called it the Spectrum Visor. It was a small device, no bigger than a pair of glasses. It looked simple, but the technology inside was incredibly complex. The visor detected visible light and translated it into thermomagnetic patterns that Thessian brains could understand. It could not make Thessians see light the way humans did, but it could show them something close, something real. The day of the first test arrived. The laboratory was crowded with scientists, journalists, and officials from the coalition. Everyone wanted to witness this moment. Everyone wanted to see if the impossible could become possible. Vela sat in a chair in the center of the room. She was nervous. Her hands trembled slightly in her lap. Around her, machines hummed and screens flickered with data. Lyra stood beside her, holding her hand. "It is okay, Mother," Lyra said. "Do not be scared." Vela looked at her daughter. How strange it was. For 5 years, she had tried to protect Lyra from a world that seemed dark and frightening. Now Lyra was the one giving her courage. "I am not scared," Vela said, but they both knew it was a lie. The lead scientist approached with the visor. It was smooth and silver, shaped to fit over Thessian eyes. Small lights blinked along the edges. "Are you ready?" the scientist asked. Vela took a deep breath. "Yes." The scientist placed the visor over her eyes. For a moment, everything was dark. Vela could not see anything at all. Her heart beat faster. Had something gone wrong? Then the visor activated. Colors flooded her vision. It was not like seeing heat. It was not like sensing magnetic fields. It was something completely new, something her brain had never processed before. She saw shapes, sharp, defined shapes with edges that did not blur or fade. She saw surfaces that reflected something strange and bright. She saw differences between objects that had always looked the same to her. And she saw her daughter. Lyra stood in front of her, but she looked different now. Vela could see things she had never noticed before. The texture of Lyra's skin, the way her ridges caught the light, the brightness of her eyes. And her smile. Vela could see her smile in a way she never had before. Tears rolled down Vela's face. She did not wipe them away. She just stared at her daughter, drinking in every detail. "Mother," Lyra said, "can you see me?" Vela nodded. She could not speak. Her throat was too tight. Lyra's face lit up with joy. She threw her arms around her mother and hugged her tight. The room burst into applause. Scientists cheered. Journalists recorded the moment. Officials shook hands and congratulated each other. But in the middle of all that noise, Vela and Lyra just held each other. They did not need words. They did not need applause. They only needed this moment, this connection, this miracle. T.O. watched from the back of the room. Hana stood beside him, too short to see over the crowd. He lifted her onto his shoulders so she could watch. "Papa, is Lyra's mother happy?" Hana asked. "Yes," T.O. said. "I think she is very happy." Hana smiled. "Good, Lyra will be happy too." T.O. nodded. He felt something warm in his chest. Pride, maybe. Or hope. Or just simple joy at seeing something good happen in a universe that often felt cold and dark. In the weeks that followed, everything changed again. The Spectrum Visor was not just for Vela. The scientists made more of them. They sent them across the galaxy. Thessians everywhere began to see visible light for the first time. They saw colors. They saw art. They saw the beauty that humans had always known. And with sight came understanding. Species that had never truly understood each other began to connect. Art galleries opened that displayed works in both thermal and visual spectrums. Musicians created songs that combined sounds with light, shows that both humans and Thessians could enjoy. Schools taught children about different ways of seeing the world. Humanity's role in the coalition changed too. Before, humans had been seen as a small, unimportant species. Their visible light perception was considered strange and limited, but now it was a gift, a bridge, a way to connect with others. T.O. was offered a new job. The coalition wanted him to become a cultural liaison. They wanted him to help other species understand human ways of seeing the world. He thought about it for a long time. It was a big opportunity. It paid well. It was important work. But in the end, he only accepted part-time. "I still want to mop floors," he told Vela when she asked why. She looked at him with confusion. "You saved my daughter, you changed the galaxy, and you want to keep cleaning hallways." T.O. smiled. "There is nothing wrong with honest work. Besides, I found Lyra while I was mopping. Maybe I will find another miracle someday." Vela laughed. It was a warm, happy sound. "You are a strange human, Kang T.O." "I know," he said, "but strange is not the same as wrong." Years passed. Lyra grew up. She became the first Thessian artist to paint in visible light. Her works hung in galleries across the galaxy. They were beautiful, full of colors that no Thessian had ever imagined before. Sunsets and flowers and oceans and stars. She painted everything she saw, sharing her vision with the universe. Hana grew up too. She studied engineering and helped improve the Spectrum Visor technology. She never forgot her childhood friend who had shown her that seeing the world differently was not a weakness. It was a strength. The two girls, now young women, stayed close. They were sisters in all but blood. They had grown up together, learned together, dreamed together. Their friendship was proof that connection could cross any boundary. And Vela, she never stopped wearing her visor. Every evening she sat by the window of her quarters and watched the stars. She had spent so many years unable to see them. Now she never took them for granted. One evening T.O. joined her. He was older now, his hair gray, his hands rough from years of work, but his eyes were still kind. "What are you looking at?" he asked. "The sunset," Vela said. She pointed toward the observation window where the station was passing by a nearby star. The light was orange and gold, spreading across the void like fire. "It is beautiful," T.O. said. "It is," Vela agreed. "I spent my whole life not knowing what I was missing. I thought I understood the universe, but I only knew a small part of it." She looked at him. "You showed me the rest," she said. "You and your daughter and your box of crayons." T.O. shook his head. "I just noticed something. Lyra did the rest." Vela smiled. "You are too humble, but I will not argue with you." They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the light change as the station moved. Two people from different worlds, seeing the same sunset. Far away in a gallery on a distant planet, one of Lyra's paintings hung on the wall. It showed two figures holding hands. One was purple, one was brown. They were standing under a sky full of colors. The title of the painting was simple: Different Eyes, Same Stars. And underneath it, in small letters, was a dedication. For my mother who learned to see, for Hana who taught me to draw, and for Kang Tio, the janitor who saw me first. The universe was vast and strange and full of mysteries, but sometimes the biggest miracles came from the smallest moments: a flickering light, a scattered crayon, a quiet man with a mop who noticed what nobody else could see. That was the human way: to find beauty in unexpected places, to build bridges where there were walls, to look at the darkness and see not emptiness but possibility. And in the end, that was the greatest gift of all. Not the ability to see light, but the willingness to look.